Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday here from Awesemo.com. It is time once again for the betting show. We call it the NFL betting show. I'm going to squeeze in some college football because that's what I do. Myself, Ben Rasa, here with my man, Julian Edlow. We are ready to go. Happy Friday, sir.
Happy Friday. I'm down to squeeze in some college football with you.
Yes.
We talked a little bit last week. I openly admit that it is not part of any of my job descriptions anywhere to know college football, but I enjoy betting on it, so why not talk about it?
Oh, we got to talk about it. Before we do that, though, I did want to ask you, because this is your account, about the World Series, and that's where we're going to start. 2 down, 1-1, big game 3 tonight, Bueller, Morton. I'll get right to it. Are you betting it? What have you thought about the Dodgers? Do they have to win this game? Do the Rays have to win this game? Where are we in this series?
I don't think it's a must win for anybody. I think either team is capable of coming back from a 2-1 deficit. So it's obviously an important game, but it's not a must win for anybody. I don't have much of a betting feel for it. Maybe as I research throughout the day, I'll come up with something. Because to be honest, once I didn't have a good feel on game 2. We did well on game 1. That was all. We had a lot of plays and leans in the Odd Shopper article both days. Game 1 went great. Game 2 split plays, I think, and for a slight loss, but I didn't really see that game going the way that it did. So I just cleared baseball from my mind. Didn't even think about it yesterday, which is nice. And I like the Dodgers. I think they're a little too expensive. Morton is a big game pitcher that's almost always underpriced and can kind of, screw things up when you go against him. So as I've been doing the first 2 games, I think it would be more of a prop game, if anything, for me. So we'll see. And, my article comes out later. If I have anything on it, it'll be in that. It'll be on Twitter, but might keep taking some time off from baseball, especially with, I do like some college football stuff tonight, and we've got NFL rolling around. So might just take some time off from baseball.
Typically, the only other thing I want to ask you, because obviously I picked my spots super specifically in baseball. I don't bet a ton of it. When you say player props, what are the chances that it's pitchers versus hitters? Is it strikeout props normally? Is it guys total bases? Is it a mixture of both? Kind of, how do you approach player props specifically with baseball?
It's a mixture of both. The one thing that's good about pitchers specifically in the postseason is, it's a guy that you like, their usage, or however you want to say it. Like when you use NBA player props, it's about who's in, who's out, who's going to have the ball in their hands. When you use NFL, a running back is out, this guy's going to get a lot of touches. Baseball, we don't have that. So pitchers are the high usage guys because they have the ball on every play. So, you want to look at their strikeout prop and their matchup. That's great. I didn't see anywhere that had the, I don't even know how to say his name, Tony Gonsolin strikeout prop the other night, because we kind of knew that he might just be an opener. I heard it open some places at 5.5 and under. He got 4 outs. Hard to strike out 6 people when you get 4 outs. Yep. So that under is the exact type of thing you want to look for. But for the hitters, there's matchup based stuff in the postseason. The thing that you don't want to do is play a guy, unless you're playing an under, that's going to get taken out of the lineup when the starter comes out or something like that, because they do a lot of that in the postseason. If you're taking an over, you need to take a primetime player that's going to be in the lineup regardless of matchup for the rest of the game, rather than a guy like, Kiki Hernandez was a guy that I was considering the other night at a low number, but he got pulled once there was a pitching change. So it's tougher in the postseason. You got to pay attention, think about how long pitchers are going to be in the game, how long hitters are going to be in the game, that type of stuff.
Yeah, it has a chess match element to it. The one thing that no matter what you're doing, I say it every show, and it's no better time to say it, go to Odd Shopper, Awesemo.com, click on Odd Shopper. You can get drastically different lines shopping these books. And Julian, you know this better than anyone. When you're talking about player props and things like that, it can drastically differ. It can be a huge edge. If you're talking about a strikeout, you can steal an actual strikeout, or instead of it being, say, minus 150, you've got it sitting at plus 110. I mean, these type of edges exist, and it makes the difference. It adds up overtime immensely. Jordan Klein behind the glass, pulling up Odd Shopper on the screen so everyone can take a look. These are the type of things, as you can see there, those lines, you can steal value. And if you have a lean, you might as well get the best price. So we encourage everyone to go over there. We're going to be talking about that throughout the show. But yeah, I don't have a ton of baseball. Keep your eyes posted. We'll have content. We have a show coming up next, of course, with Jason Floyd and Ship My Money. They'll be breaking down game 3 for everybody. But I do want to, we're going to get to the NFL, of course, Chad, and it's good to have everyone in here, as always. I do want to talk about a little college football, though, because we have 4 games tonight, which is really atypical for Friday night. We're lucky if we get 1 game. We've got 4, including the Big Ten opener. Illinois they're like a 3-touchdown underdog going to Wisconsin. But we were talking before the show, the game that we both kind of like is Tulsa. They're sitting around 10 or 11-point favorite going into South Florida. So there are some options tonight on the college football side.
There are. And I mean, like NFL, MLB, NBA, that's where I go like all my own research. College football, I don't have time to do that. So I do a little bit of my own research and then talk to people that I trust and see what they like. And all of the people that I've talked to, including you, think that Tulsa is in a great spot and they're a good looking team. And South Florida, more importantly, is an awful looking team. So I got this one early in the week at 9.5, which gets us through a key number of 10, which is nice. But now I'm wondering, I like the spot a lot the more that I look into it. And I would feel kind of dumb now getting in on Tulsa minus 11, although if it's good, maybe I'll double down on it. But I'm just looking if there's another angle or another way to get in on this game. But it sounds like Tulsa is going to dominate South Florida because South Florida stinks.
Yeah, that's my read as well. They're teams that certainly aren't on the tip of everybody's tongue. No one's making canceling plans to watch South Florida or Tulsa play football, but I have seen them. And yeah, exactly. I'm doing that, but normal people are not. So one of the crazy things about college football this year, you could have played 1 game so far or like 8. Tulsa kind of falls in that former category. They played 2 games. They had a game or 2 canceled already. So we've seen them against 2 really good opponents. Oklahoma State, they held in. They did lose that game, but they kept it very close. And then they played UCF and they won the game, which is a big time upset. Limited them. They kept it respectable in terms of offense. We know how high powered Central Florida is. They're only giving up 21 points a game so far. Then we go to the other side. USF has played 5 times. They are 1-4. They beat the Citadel. The Citadel is not a FBS school. They're an FCS school, and they only run.
Every time I hear the Citadel, I think it's like a 90s wrestler or something.
I love this. I have a sweet Citadel shirt that I wear frequently because in basketball, little known fact, they only take 3-pointers, basically. They are a wild, wild team. And we'll be talking about that soon enough on this show. But other than that, we've got South Florida played Notre Dame, 52-0. Well, that's not going to get it done. They played Cincinnati. They lost 28-7. Not going to get it done. They played East Carolina, who was absolutely atrocious. They lost 44-24. That's East Carolina's lone win on the year. And then they played Temple, who had not played a game yet, and they held in. They lost by 2 points, 39-37. So you could say what you want. Temple's 1-1. East Carolina's 1-3. I don't see anything from this team. And the last thing I'll say is through these 5 games, South Florida has 4 passing touchdowns total. That kind of production is just garbage. I think Tulsa's defense will just absolutely smother them. If Tulsa doesn't turn the ball over, this to me has the feeling of like a 31-10 type game, a 38-14 type game where Tulsa just pulls away. They don't need to score a ton of points, but South Florida really can't move the ball, which is why maybe the team total for South Florida is another avenue to get exposure to.
Yeah, I'm happy with my 9.5. I'm thinking about the best way to get back in. Like maybe it sounds like Tulsa is a really safe parlay piece on the money line if you're building something. Like we talk about teaser weeks. I did play one teaser this week and we'll get to it, but like your money line parlaying. it's steep, but
yeah, I mean,
you're not going to lose.
We've only seen them twice. Obviously, these teams, there's a lot of variance in college football, but everything that I look at, both sides of the ball, they have the distinct advantage. And I can't stress enough, they've played Oklahoma State and UCF. They should be 0-, not because they deserve to lose the games, but if you would have just told me, I'd say, okay, they're probably 0-2, but we don't know how good they are because they've just played two really good opponents. The fact that they've won one of those games and held in the other, I think we have to seriously take Tulsa as a potential actual candidate to win the American, not to overstate it. So they're just in a different class, and I think we see that tonight. I will say real quick, the marquee game is Illinois and Wisconsin. It's almost 3 touchdowns. I don't really have a position. I will say I have an article posted totally free on the site, breaking down all these games, talking a little DFS as well. I don't have much to say on that game. Do you have any feel for Illinois versus Wisconsin?
No. Didn't Illinois upset?
They did, absolutely.
Huge upset last year, yeah.
Yep.
So I guess Wisconsin is the far superior team, maybe remembers that and, wants to make this one hurt. I don't know. I haven't researched this game really. I don't know much about these teams. Nobody knows much about these teams because it's a season opener. It's a lot of points to try and figure out for a first game. I don't really see where to go. I don't know, I guess, how to handicap a game like this at this point.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of mystery. I'll say this. Wisconsin, they always have a top-end offensive line. That hasn't changed. They're replacing Jonathan Taylor. That's going to be difficult. They're replacing their quarterback who actually returned, but he's hurt. So they have a lot of question marks on the offensive side. Illinois has far less questions, but they're just not as good of a team. You mentioned this was the biggest Smith and Lovie Smith's tenure, the biggest win for him last year, upsetting Wisconsin. I don't expect much. I think they'll find a way to win at home. Will they cover 20 points? That's a different story. Probably won't touch the game. So for me, it's Tulsa, and that's about it. But if you are playing the slate, obviously it's one of the many reasons. Get in Slack, hop in. We have a lot of people talking college football, and if anything comes up, certainly me and Julian will keep you guys informed. But for me, I'm gonna stick just with Tulsa right now.
Wasn't UAB favored earlier in the week, and now they're like 3-point dogs? What happened there? Yeah,
so that's a really interesting. I mean, again, it's not a game that people are putting on the calendar, but over in the Sun Belt, Louisiana Lafayette is a team we saw early in the season. They got a big win at Iowa State. Both teams kind of have flashes, and they only have one loss apiece. I'll be honest, I don't know exactly what to make of UAB. We've seen a little of them, but it's a game that I'm more looking to, and Julian, you talk about this a lot, sometimes just watching the first half and getting a feel for what you're seeing and then taking a position then can be really effective. I think that's that type of game. See how they're running the ball. Their only loss was to a Miami team who's very good. So I might hit that game live.
Okay. I like that.
Anything else before we, I think it's time for a little NFL Sunday.
Anything else on the college side? I guess I read something from Brad Powers, like on Iowa. Iowa's -3 at Purdue. And a stat jumped out to me that since like the early 2000s, Iowa is 21-0, I think, straight up as a road favorite. And they're like 17-3-1 against the spread in those games. And Purdue doesn't have their head coach. I just saw that number and circled Iowa -3 as a spot that I might be interested in. And then I'm a Bama guy. They did their job last week.
They did.
And now they get Tennessee, who I think they're going to destroy.
Probably.
So I looked at Alabama's team total. They've put up massive points against a couple of teams, and then they scored. All we hear, Georgia's defense. They scored 41 against Georgia's defense. Team total against Tennessee is 43.5. Big number. I like Alabama's team total over.
Yeah, I don't listen. That team, they've got multiple receivers. They have possibly, Travis, but Najee Harris is on the short list for best running backs in the country,
right.
Regardless of where you put them.
They take so many deep shots to those fast receivers.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't mind that. I will certainly have plays tomorrow. You can 9:45 Eastern. Me and Matt Gajewski will be breaking down that entire slate because there's a lot of good games, including Bama Waddle season. Can't wait for him to get to the NFL. I cannot wait. I love that guy. All right, here we go. So we obviously got a bunch of games to get to on the NFL slate. I do want to say, chat, real quick, as always, it's good to see everyone in here ready to go. We've been saying this all week, and it's to help you. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, make sure you do that. Hit the notification bell as well. Helps us, and it helps you guys out. You'll be notified when shows go live. We have so many shows these days. You don't want to miss any. You want to make sure you're in line, you're ready to go. So definitely hit that subscribe button. No reason not to, and the like button. But that's a given at this point. All right. We got a bunch of games, 12 games on Sunday. We only have one Monday night game. It seems right now, even though there's been some juggling of the schedule, I think things are all right. As far as you've seen, first impressions just of the slate we have in front of us.
It's not bad. I've been, struggling to find ones that I absolutely love. Like I've loved others. Like week 2 was still the one that jumped out to me the most, and I don't think that's been topped yet. But there are some spots that I'm interested. There's a teaser spot I'm interested. There's a spread or two that I'm interested in. Hopefully some props that I'm interested in, although those kind of like later on Friday and on Saturday I get more involved with, but it's good to, bring some to the show. So I'm kind of digging in on the props now. I don't mind the board. It's week to week can be like just so tricky at this point, but I mean, here's my question. Which garbage matchup are you circling as your dumpster fire game of the week to bet on?
My favorite type, and we'll start right there. I have 2. Like them both. First, Atlanta Falcons at home, 2-point favorite over the Lions. Falcons, they change coaches. They look a little better. We know they have the weapons. We've always known that. It wasn't a matter of talent there, but they just haven't gotten it done. They've blown a ton of leads. We know all that, but this is still a talented team. They are at home, and I just don't trust Detroit at all. It's a team that I really have no confidence in. I think that Atlanta will have a lot of success through the air. And yes, Atlanta's secondary is ravaged, but you know what? Stafford and that passing attack, although they've shown some signs, I don't really see it. So I will take them, and I'm just going to throw one more out there and I'll pass it to you. Game right below them on Odd Shopper. I know that Cleveland has been smoked by the Steelers.
I knew you were betting the Browns. I should have said that because I was going to guess that.
Listen, the Ravens and the Steelers are not the Bengals. I think we all know that. And the Browns are probably not as bad as they showed against those teams. And they're probably not as good as they've showed against teams like the Colts and whatnot. Still, when you're a field goal for them against the Bengals, even on the road, to me, that's enough off a loss to back them. As we click into the game page here, you see that total. I know the majority of money and bets are on Cleveland, so I do like that. I don't see any reverse line movement, anything I'm too concerned about. That's a square play. There's no doubt. What do you think of that? And then do you have any feel on that Atlanta game?
So the Atlanta game, I'm bad at getting feels for bad games.
That's my one thing I really do well, I feel like.
You do. And so I like to feel you out on these and tail you on some. It makes sense. And what I like to do sometimes in some of these situations is like just think back to the beginning of the year, because things tend to come back to, what we expected. We think of the Falcons right now as a dumpster fire, but they're coming off a very impressive win, I guess, even though the Vikings now went into the tank this week in terms of they're trading away players that they traded for in the offseason. They're shutting guys down for surgery. The Falcons' loss was the nail in the coffin for the Vikings season. But nonetheless, they went into that one needing a win, and the Falcons dominated them on the road. So the Falcons are the more talented team, and they're at home, and Detroit is, I guess both teams aren't very well coached, but Detroit is more poorly coached, I would say.
Yes.
So I might go with you on that it makes sense. It makes sense, I guess, the way that you presented it. So that's good. Cleveland, I looked at from the beginning as a square play and one that I leaned towards and have interest in. They just got smoked. Cleveland put up a battle in Indy, but the Colts are not that good, which is something I think we need to consider. So I agree. Like when the Browns, I feel like, bring their best against poor teams and then show up on the primetime stage for the big game, like, oh, are the Browns actually for real? And then get smoked. Like, that's just kind of who the Browns are. So this is a strong bounce back spot for them where I think they can try and show that they're for real by sticking it to the Bengals. And then the next time they have a big opponent on their schedule, they'll choke and not even show up. So the Falcons weren't on my radar. I think that makes sense. The Browns, I'm with you. I do lean to them. It's a short number for a big talent discrepancy.
Yeah, and we don't have it out because it's Friday, not all the books, but keep an eye on Kareem Hunt's rushing prop. He's had obviously Chubb went down and everyone immediately looked to him, but he had some tough matchups in there. When we talk about the Steelers, we talk about even the Colts, their front isn't terrible. Now he gets Cincinnati. They're sitting 29th in rushing yards allowed per attempt, over 5 per carry. I think this could be the spot for Kareem Hunt to really have a big game. If they win the game, you have to like him even more. He could push for, I think, upwards of 20 carries.
I agree. And we hit that under against the Colts for Kareem Hunt because it was like 77.5 or something like that. He got 72 rushing yards against the Colts, who the last time I checked were the number one rushing defense in terms of yards per game. I'm not sure if they're still there, but they're one of the best. So that's, going from the best to the worst almost. So this is a spot, yes, as a favorite against a terrible run defense, where, as long as those other guys don't sneak in too many carries, Hunt should have a very big game.
Yeah. And just to add that, the Colts are jostling for that top spot. It's with the Steelers, who was the other team that they played. And that game obviously got out of hand. Certainly the Cleveland wasn't going to be running the ball late in that game. So they've legitimately played 2 of the top handful of rushing defenses after Chubb went down. And now they get basically the worst. So huge bounce back spot for him. I have to ask you, I'll be honest, I don't have a play on the game, but man, it doesn't even feel like it's the biggest game, but how could it not be when you have 2 undefeated teams going at it? The Titans are a 1-point favorite at home against the Steelers. It's a tough game. I don't feel like those are the best teams. I'll be honest. Like I think the Ravens and the Chiefs are still better, but can't argue with the record. What do you make of a game like this?
The Ravens and Chiefs are better.
And the Bills.
I would be shocked. No, but
no. No.
We'll talk about them. But I think, Tennessee's at home and they do have a little bit of a home field advantage because they have some fans there. I think Pittsburgh's the better team. I'm like you. I don't really have a play on this game. I'm just gonna try and learn from it. But if I bet the game, I would bet Pittsburgh money line at plus money, because I think they're the better team. I think the worst unit on the field is the Tennessee defense, whereas Pittsburgh is more balanced on both sides of the ball. So over the course of the game, I figure that eventually will give Pittsburgh a little bit of an edge. It's a bad matchup on paper for Derrick Henry, but that seems to not matter with him because he just trucks anybody over. So like, he's the only matchup-proof running back almost because of his stature. So he can always burn you. I don't know. You can talk yourself into both sides. I would say I'm like 60-40 in favor of Pittsburgh in this game.
That's fair. I mean, it's a tough matchup. It's one, I think you said an important thing there. It's one that I want to see to kind of bank some information on. I will probably have plays, and not to say that one game is going to define something, but I will have plays going forward that probably use this data point heavily for both these teams, whether it's plays in the South or just trying to jostle how good the Steelers are when they match up with the Ravens and when they get teams like the Browns again. So keep that in mind. So, God, I'm just scrolling through, and now I get to the part where it's, all right, we got the Cowboys as basically a pick 'em. You can get +1 out there. What a world against the football team. That was as ugly of a game against the Cardinals as I've seen in some time. The football team just lost to the Giants. That's pretty bad in its own right. Again, you want to talk about a square play. I think backing the Cowboys on the road here is definitely square. I find myself a little interested, though. Can they hold up? The offensive line is in shambles, and Dalton looks lost back there.
So here's my thing. Monday night was obviously when being sharp goes wrong. Cowboys
shows
3 all the way to -1. I was on it. Whatever, that happened. And now my initial reaction was this offense still has all these weapons. Maybe there's an overreaction. We can bet them next week to bounce back. However, the offensive line is awful, and they lose Zach Martin. Do we have a status on Zach Martin? Like, is he out?
I have not seen anything. Clearly, like, it was talked about a little, certainly during the game. But, like, he was the anchor of that team. He's the phenomenal.
Most important piece of all of them, and they were already missing huge key pieces.
He just right now it says status uncertain still, so we'll have to keep an eye on that.
So when I saw this come out, I knew it would move, so I bet Washington +3. And if I want to get out of it, I'm not going to have a problem getting out of it. But my thought process was I kind of wanted to back the Cowboys this week. Then I saw the matchup. Washington's front is their strength. That defensive line is their strength. Andy Dalton is one of the worst quarterbacks under pressure in the NFL, and he will be pressured once again. He looked like a tackling dummy on some of those plays against Arizona, who was without Chandler Jones, who's one of the best, sack guys in the NFL. I like Washington strictly based off that. I strictly based off the defensive line versus offensive line matchup. And I think the Cowboys defense is bad enough that Kyle Allen will look okay and score some points.
That is where I was going. So, chat, feel free to just tell me. It wouldn't be the first time people said that I'm insane. But I honestly feel like Kyle Allen is a downgrade from Haskins. I really do. I know that sounds insane, but I cannot believe they made that move. And it really has me soured on a bad team regardless, but I don't get it. I thought the offense would be better and will be better if they put Haskins back. I think they need to use Gibson more. We know about McLaurin. They have some things that will cause some problems. And you mentioned, we saw all the way back in week 1, it was 8 sacks against an Eagles front that was messed up. I don't think it's unreasonable to think that they can do that to this Cowboys team. I don't think he's the wild card, but listen, Zeke can't be fumbling like that. They need to lean on him heavily. They can't have Dalton dropping back 50 times. That's just not going to work.
No, it's not. Yeah, I'm with you. I mean,
what a game.
I think Haskins is better than Kyle Allen, but even if they're equals, why aren't you going to go with your first round pick and find out for as long as possible? It's just a weird move, but nonetheless, Kyle Allen has performed in the past, and if there's a matchup to perform in, it's against this Dallas defense. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'll get out of it with some Cowboys money line. I don't know what I'm gonna do. But I like Washington, I think.
It's no surprise, just looking at the game page right now on the screen, that all the money and all the bets, all the tickets are on Dallas. That's definitely a public side.
It makes me want to just stick with Washington.
Like, I'm not shocked that them in Cleveland are getting the money just on name recognition. It's just like, it's the Cowboys. And they've got a lot of problems. I do find myself, if I had to take a position, it would be the Cowboys, but I have not bet this game. So the other thing that I don't think you've discovered something here, I'm not going to lie, but you've been doing it. And that's all that matters, is obviously to just whoever the Jets are playing, you just bet that team, and then you go to the window and you collect your money in the first half because they're not competitive. They are a 12-point home dog to the Bills, who certainly have shown some talent, but they've also shown that I think, has some issues here and there. Do you just say it doesn't matter who the Jets are playing because they're so inept? They're non-competitive. Flacco, Darnold, it doesn't matter. Adam Gase will be there, and that's enough. Do you just blindly back Buffalo?
Yeah, those issues for Buffalo don't matter in this spot, especially if I don't care that much who the quarterback is. Darnold coming back is definitely an upgrade over Flacco, but now Jamison Crowder might be out again, who is like the only weapon in the offense. He gets like 12 targets a game. Nice little fantasy play because everybody's afraid to play Jets just on pure volume, like Crowder for fantasy, for props, like he's a guy to look at. But if he's out, there's just no chance to move the ball. Like you just got shut out by the Dolphins, who went on to bench their quarterback. Like it's terrible.
Teaser, potentially.
So I have them in a teaser. You read my mind there. Not hard to read my mind on that. So I teased Buffalo and Kansas City.
Okay.
The numbers that I got it at, I bought an extra half point and made it Buffalo to -6 and Kansas City to -2.5 to get them through the 3, which I like a lot. I think Kansas City and Buffalo are going to cover regardless. More confident in Buffalo than Kansas City, but I mean, the Broncos beating the Patriots without scoring a touchdown, that speaks more about how awful the Patriots looked last week. I think that Kansas City is going to do fine, but teasing those two together, Buffalo and Kansas City, I think is my strongest play of the week. Potentially maybe with some Vegas O-line news. We'll get to that, but I like it. I think Buffalo, if you want to all right, so maybe, maybe the Jets backdoor. Like I'm trying to think, maybe Buffalo's up 17 late and Darnold gets a touchdown. Like if you want a different way to go about it, if there are 6.5 sevens on the first half available for Buffalo, I think that's a solid bet. Buffalo's been a pretty good first half team a lot of the season. So yeah, there's different ways I think you can back Buffalo here. Tease, first half, whatever.
I will say, listen, I'm not going to give a strong case for why the Jets can hang in this game, but they have played. I do think that helps the Jets. They already played once this year, and it wasn't a disaster. That was when the Jets looked a little better. They've got so many problems, and they are in a free-for-all right now. So Buffalo coming off a tough loss. I'm not saying they should have won the game, but they were in it for a bit there in the pouring rain against Kansas City. I'm not going to lay 12 points, but I would also be equally shocked if the Jets – we're going to talk a little about Survivor at the end of the show. Spoiler alert, the Bills are going to be 50, 60% owned in leagues, as they probably should be. So it's not shocking to see 95% of the tickets are on the Bills. I mean, who the hell is going to back the Jets right now?
You're not going to make a case to bet on the Jets.
Absolutely. It's the Bills are pass.
Yeah, exactly.
100%. All right. Keeping it going, do you want to talk about this situation? Because you just alluded to it. And to me, I have more questions than answers, but we've got you boys down in Tampa playing the Raiders, who is your arch nemesis. What a game. What a swing game for you if Oakland wins.
I've had so many Raiders swing games, and I always just get kicked below the belt when that game comes up.
They may or may not have an offensive line, so that should help your case.
One would think.
What do you make of a game here with that situation? So for people that don't know, I don't believe there's been I don't want to say an outbreak, but they did some contact tracing and they decided to send the O-line home. That's really where I'm at, Julian. Feel free to fill in the blanks that I left out.
No, that's what I know. They've all been put on the COVID list, which means they're sent home. They're not coming to the facility. It does not mean that they're ruled out Sunday, but it's not good. So I grabbed Tampa -3 when the news came out, knowing that I would probably have a chance like Washington to get out if I want to get out, and probably at a better number. So I'll figure it out. I was looking at this one, like I wish I got it at 2.5, obviously. I leaned Tampa at 2.5, but I thought it was a little bit of a trap. Vegas coming off a huge win against Kansas City, but they also had the bye to kind of recover. Tampa coming off a huge win now and probably going to regress. But we finally saw what Tampa looked like putting it all together, not having the dumb penalties. And
win.
They can clearly get right and getting healthy. So like if Tampa, if Brady, I feel like, can keep Tampa together mentally and they're healthy, they can make the Super Bowl. Like that's their ceiling. Their floor is also having 14 penalties in a wild card game and getting bounced. So who knows what will happen there? But again, I'm not planning on winning this Raiders win total, but I do, as you know, have a lot of Bucks futures at very good value from before or right after the Brady news happened. So I do need Tampa to win this game, whether it was against the Raiders or not. But beating the Raiders would be, that never hurts for me. But this for me becomes, if we do get news that like Vegas literally isn't going to have an O-line, I have no problem smashing the Bucks for one of my bigger bets of the week, the season, because Tampa has a good defense, a really good defense we just saw. And you just look at what happened with Dallas. Look at what happened with the Eagles. When you don't have an offensive line, you don't play well. And when the whole offensive line goes out for a team like the Raiders, it is not going to be good.
Yeah, I mean, if that is the case, and the game stays and we have the ability, certainly that's a massive factor. Not to mention the number will react to this, but I don't really care. Like Josh Jacobs' rushing total, Tampa's already one of the strongest teams up front. If he has no offensive line, A, they're probably going to be trailing, and B, I don't think they'll get a great push, putting it lightly. So I would short Josh Jacobs' rushing props immediately.
Somehow get that number and then get the O-line news, I would get to that as quickly as possible.
Agreed. Yep. Because that would be really, really bad for Vegas. So something we have to keep in mind as we get forward and obviously, we'll get clarity.
Obviously, they're also keeping the option open that there just might not be a game, which is why they did the whole flex situation with Arizona, Seattle, now the Sunday night game. So we'll see. But if this game is on and if Oakland is missing, let's say 3 or more linemen, huge. I keep saying Oakland. Vegas is missing 3 or more linemen. Tampa, Jacobs unders on rushing, not receiving, or combined or whatever. Mm-hmm. That is, immediately where I'm looking.
And I'll be right there with you. Couple more games, and like I said, we'll talk a little Survivor. I want to ask you if you see any upsets on the card and whatnot, and then we'll bounce out of here, set it up for the baseball show. But I got to ask you because, as you know, I'm definitely on the Bills in the East, but I've said I'm not stunned to see the Patriots once again be there. I was stunned to see how bad they looked last week. I thought Cam coming back, that an offense like that honestly wouldn't need a ton of time to gel because it's a lot of ground. You lean on Cam. They just look lost, though. I don't know what to make of it. That's kind of what I want to ask you. And they don't have time to think because they have the Niners coming into Foxborough. These are the type of games they need. 2-point favorite. What do you make of the Patriots right now? Where are they?
I'm not giving up on the Niners being frauds, first of all. They're still even though they're more healthy, they're extremely banged up. Belichick knows the Shanahans very well. Belichick knows Jimmy G very well. Last week was gross. They looked like they gave up. They looked like they were using the COVID and not being able to practice as an excuse. I haven't seen the Patriots look that bad in a long time. The Patriots have not lost 3 games in a row since 2002. This is a spot where they're getting close to a pick'em and in a spot where that could happen. The Patriots, this is a must-win game for the Patriots. They have to bounce back. I like them at I'm going to let this get as short as it can and maybe look at Patriots money line as a lean at -120, -125, something like that. They need to win this game. I am still not high on the 49ers. I think that Belichick has some edges in knowing the Shanahans and knowing Jimmy G well on how to potentially get this game. The lack of weapons, though, like, they need to do something there with like a Julio Jones and AJ Green, like a big piece they need for Cam Newton, because Edelman is looking washed up. Bird and Harry are not consistent guys that you can go to. It's just running the ball and Cam and all that. So I'm talking down the Patriots. I think this is a spot where I'm probably going to look to the Patriots money line. And if they don't win this game, I'm just going to say I'm done with them. They don't have it, because if the Patriots are going to be anything this season, they're going to win this game.
43.5 total. Do you have any feel there? And that my first inclination is to lean under, just because I really could see both teams running, leaning on the defense, limited turnovers, not a lot of big play shots. It's a low number, but to me, it's not low enough.
Yeah. Look at how gross. We had 30 points in the Denver game. One touchdown in the game, right?
Yeah, it was a field goal bonanza.
So, yeah, it's a low total, but I don't mind it at all. I think it's going to be a gross game. I could see I'm thinking like a 16-13 Patriots win type of game.
Yeah, that's gross.
Yep.
Listen, I don't think it's crazy to lean to that under. If I had to take a position, I would lean to the Patriots. I don't think they're dead and buried just yet. And the Niners are a tough team to gauge. I really don't know what to make of them. They showed signs, they look Rams look great. The Cardinals, not so much. Competitive division, as we all know. We got chat hyping up Drew Lock. That is what I like to see. That is why we have a great chat here. See, everybody knows Broncos. I was a year early. Next year when we do this show, Broncos playoffs. Don't get hurt, Cortland Sutton. We need you. Anything else? I do want to ask you about the night game. I guess it is a big. I don't want to give the Cardinals credit and say this is a big matchup for the West, but I guess it is. Seattle obviously is dominating right now. They're a 3-point road favorite. Seems a little trappy. Cardinals coming off the beatdown of the Cowboys, but again, it's the Cowboys. What do you make of the game? Should be one of the best on the slate.
It definitely seems trappy. And then at the same time, we have the Cardinals riding high. Everybody just saw a blowout. Seattle's coming off the bye, so maybe off of people's minds a little bit, but they've been very good off the bye recently. One more quick thing before I forget it. The Raiders have been awful out of 2 byes under John Gruden, like getting blown out both times off the bye, while that's on my mind. So one other thing going back to the Tampa game. But I can't figure out this Sunday night game. It's the Cardinals are getting hyped up there on the short week. I think I like Seattle coming out of the bye, which is a squarish side, but then also it's like, I can't figure it out. Maybe people are going to be going to Arizona after how good they looked being home dogs. So I don't know. And then you've got the other aspect. This was going to be an afternoon game. Now it's the night game. We know Seattle's primetime numbers. We know Seattle's road numbers. Like, this is where they thrive. I don't know. I'm not betting the Cardinals. This would be Seattle or pass for me, I think. Seattle at 3 also. I don't want 3.5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's, again, just speaks to Odd Chopper. You can get 3.5 for the Cardinals. You can find 3 out there for the Seahawks. So you obviously want to make sure you're picking the right, you want the hook if you're getting the points. You don't want to give the hook. 55.5 total is pretty damn healthy. I think we'll see some points. I do want to look a little bit as we get closer into DeAndre Hopkins' reception total. I could see him. He was not needed. Christian Kirk did all the heavy lifting. He will be needed here. I have a feeling his targets will be heavy, especially if they fall behind. And Seattle, although they're a good team, we have seen them getting some back and forth games here. So no way I'm going to back the Cardinals. As you know, I don't believe in them just yet. They've had honestly, I think they should be somewhat disappointed with the start. They let a couple gettable games slip away, and now the meat of their schedule begins. These are the type of games they're going to have to win, and that's a tall task.
Yep. I agree with everything you said there. And quickly on the total, I don't mind an over even on the big number.
Mhm.
Arizona has gone under in all 6 games. And the over was a popular play on Monday night, obviously. Now, Arizona did its part. The Cowboys were awful. Seattle is not going to be that. Russell Wilson is going to do his part to put up the points, and that defense has not been good in stopping anybody. So, like, a 30-27 game gets you there, and I just don't see a team finishing with less than like 24 points in this game. So a 30-24 wouldn't get you there, but I don't see it being much lower scoring than that, honestly. Mm-hmm. So I would lean to the over in this. I think we get a little bit of a lower number based on what happened on Monday night and based on Arizona being 6-0 to the under.
Not to mention, you said this earlier in the show, Chandler Jones, huge loss. That was the key to that defense. They haven't felt that yet because they played the Cowboys, but they will against teams like this. I also want to say, as Nightbot occasionally, drops some goodies in there, we have a promo going on right now, and it's not the most mainstream thing, but it doesn't mean it's not important. The Champions League is here. There's been major soccer games all week, and we are giving a weekly soccer pass promo code for $2. $2. So you go Awesemo.com, promo code Champions League. You can click that link right there and get in and try us out. I say all the time, these niche sports, you're not going to have a milli maker up top, but you can build the bankroll. You can lean on Alex's tools. And it's just not as deep of a pool out there. Not a lot of people are doing that research. So if you're into soccer or you want to just give it a try, come on in for only $2 for a week. And then we hope you'll stick around. But keep that in mind. All right, we got a couple minutes left here. Do you want to talk about the Monday night game? I love to ask you every time. I love asking you about the Bears. That's another team that tilts you into oblivion.
Yeah, the Bears are frauds, but here we are. Honestly, the Rams might be too big of a favorite. I have no feel in terms of betting this game. I think that the Rams are the better team. I think that the Rams should win the game. I think 5.5, 6 is too big. I was maybe expecting like 4 here, which means the value is on the Bears, but I won't be betting the Bears. So I don't know. Do you have a feel for this? I don't really have.
No, it would be a pass for me. The West is too confusing, and I'm not a believer in the Bears either. Any total feel for you?
Nope. I have like embarrassingly no feel for this game. It's Monday night, so I'll watch it come around and I'll wind up betting it in some form, but I don't see, like, I would take the Rams -3 in this game is like what I would want, what I would be comfortable with.
Fair enough.
But I'm also not comfortable with the Bears +6.
That's these leaf blowers outside my window causing a ruckus. But I will say, I want to ask you about Survivor real quick. Is it just the Bills? Is that the answer, to just play the Bills in Survivor? Or do you think we should go somewhere else?
Bills or Chiefs. I would play the Bills because I would want to save the Chiefs, and this is the Bills' last Jets game. I think the Chiefs are more valuable to save than the Bills, I guess. So if you've used the Bills, I would use the Chiefs. But yeah, I would rank them in that order, 1, 2.
Okay.
Where it's bad for some reason is if you've somehow used the Bills and Chiefs. Then
you got problems.
I don't love the Saints. I don't love the Chargers. I don't know what you do.
I feel okay with the Chargers just because I think the Jaguars are getting so much love off one win back in week 1 against the Colts. This team is awful. They're not as bad as the Jets, but they're just horrendous. We didn't talk about that game. I don't have a play in it, but I do believe the Chargers roll them.
They should. And you see them coming down to 7. It's been 7.5 a lot of the week, and you see them coming down to 7 in most places. So I agree it's Chargers. I'm just not comfortable with them. Put it this way, if I've used the Bills and Chiefs in Survivor, I would use the Chargers before I use the Saints. I think fading Jacksonville is stronger than fading Carolina.
Yes.
But at the same time, I doubt I'll have a play on Jacksonville and LA. One game that we somehow scrolled all the way over is the Packers and Texans.
I hate the Texans. Every time I bet them, they get me into trouble.
Okay. So do you like the Packers?
No. It doesn't matter which side. If I just bet a Texans game, I get into trouble. I do like so I thought that the Texans season died last week in overtime. They needed that game. If they won it, I would be singing a different tune. Packers got humbled. You knew they were due for a bad game against Tampa. Right. Not saying I thought it was going to be like that, but it would be Packers or pass. I think the Texans are just now done.
So I actually love the Packers. It opened at 3, and I'm being kind of stubborn because I want 3, but I'm going to wind up taking it 3.5 when that never becomes available. Houston, I think, is going to be kind of discouraged in this game because, like you said, they're done now, and they know that. Green Bay coming off an embarrassing loss, perfect bounce back spot against Houston, who was just awful defensively. Rodgers should be able to do what he wants. Big game for Devontae Adams. Big game for Aaron Jones as well. So I love Green Bay in this spot. Green Bay, their last 10 failed covers, last 10 times they failed to cover, they're 10-0 against the spread in their next game. So they have been a terrific bounce back team in terms of when they fail to cover. I think this one's too short. I'm definitely going to be betting Green Bay here.
Okay. Hey, listen, we've just summed this up. Houston's got the talent, but last week I think summed up everything about them. Should have won the game, should have covered, didn't do either. It's tough. Chat, I want to ask you about this because this is more your area. Interesting comment in chat. 6-point teaser, Saints Chargers. You get it through 7 and 3. You get them down to 1.5. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, that's kind of the obvious spot with the two teams right at the number that you can get them to the pick 'em. I'm not going to be playing that. I understand it. Both teams should win. I'm more scared of the Panthers. Teddy Bridgewater is an underdog, is a beast. I wouldn't mess with it, but I understand the appeal. For me, it's a week where, I would love to just have the Bills and Chiefs to win, but a money line parlay there is like minus 240 or something. You can't do it. So that's why I went to the teaser, and I'm confident enough, that the Bills will get that done and by a touchdown or more, and that the Chiefs can get it done by a field goal or more. So it's not quite, the spot that I prefer, where you just need a team to win. Points can always get messy. But I still think it's stronger to just go Buffalo and Kansas City, who are in dominant spots, versus the Saints and the Chargers, who are in shakier spots.
I don't mind like I said, I like Chargers more than you. I'm a little worried about the Saints, though. And honestly, it leads us up to close out the show. We try to do this, and we'll give an upset special if we have one. If I had to take an upset, and I am not betting this, I think that the Panthers are live to beat the Saints. 7.5 points. I don't see many other dogs that I'm really looking at. Obviously, there's a couple teams that are like +1 or +2. I don't really consider those real upsets. Of the teams that are like hovering a touchdown or more, I think that the Panthers have the best chance to pull a big upset.
Yeah, I mean, once we're talking about like touchdown range, that means you have to pick what? The Broncos, the Jags, the Jets, or the Panthers. So yeah, I mean,
by default, right?
The Panthers were kind of the place that I was going to go as well. If we want to get technical, Pittsburgh plus money on the money line is, a strong spot. Or a decent spot, I would say. But yeah, I don't want to just make up an underdog play just to make it up. I don't think I'm really going to be doing anything in that realm this week. So yeah, the Panthers are, put it this way, I would prefer to tease the Panthers up and buy the half point and get the Panthers +14 than try and get the Saints down to the money line.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Teasers, that's the last thing I'll say, and we'll bounce out. Normally, I feel like the majority of people that use teasers, they use it to go backward, go down on favorites. You can also go the other way. If you like a dog to hang in, you can steal an extra touchdown. You get through those key numbers the other way. And then if they keep it close, you're good. So on that note, we're going to bounce on out of here. Chat, as always, we enjoy it. We have some fun. We appreciate it. You can follow us on Twitter there. You can follow us Inside the Ropes at Awesemo. Come in the Slack chat. We'd love to have you guys. We are going to turn it over to Jason Floyd and Ship My Money, talking Game 3 of the World Series. Good luck, everyone, in NFL this week, and we will see you guys next Friday.